Welcome. Welcome to the Clayton Chamber of Commerce's 2024 Platform at the Podium video series. My name is Dean Penny, and I am Vice Chair of the Legislative and Governmental Affairs Committee for the Chamber. We are excited to bring this series to you, giving the candidates running for office an opportunity to directly share with you some of their views. The offices that are going to be represented in this video series include the U.S. House of Representatives, District 13, the North Carolina State Senate, District 10, the North Carolina House of Representatives, Districts 26 and 53, Johnston County Commissioners, and the Johnston County Public School Board. All the candidates running for office in each of these categories were offered an opportunity to come and participate in the series, and each were given questions in advance, giving them an opportunity to share with you directly their views about key issues. We encourage you to watch each video in the series. It's a great way to become informed and help you make a better decision as you go and prepare yourself to vote. So thank you again. We appreciate you watching this series, and also appreciate your contribution to our community as you register your vote.
Hey there, I'm Brad Knott. I'm a candidate for the U.S. Congress, the 13th Congressional District. And it's my privilege to be here today. And one of the questions posed is, what will I do, if elected, to better serve the 13th district as it relates to federal resources with infrastructure, broadband, and the like? And there's several things that a congressperson should do. And I would say one of the foremost responsibilities that I have is to make sure that the government is being a good steward of taxpayer dollars. And when the government is in the business of assisting in infrastructure development, whether it's roads, bridges, or broadband installation, I think that finding the lowest cost and the highest quality, those two goals should go hand in hand. It should be a competitive bidding process. There shouldn't be favoritism. Obviously, there shouldn't be items that are in any way inhibitive of trying to deliver the best good for this district at the lowest cost. And one of the problems that I see in today's system is it's way too bureaucratic. There are way too many wheels that are moving in terms of not only appropriations once the dollars are set aside for a district like the 13th, but also how contracts are awarded. And I'll give you an example. North Carolina is a right-to-work state. We do not have a very heavy union presence. And in a recent infrastructure bill that the government passed into law, there was a string attached that only union jobs could be used to fulfill federal contracts. That was the provision that was discussed and is currently being adhered to. Well, that's going to either make North Carolina businesses operate different, engage with practices that they currently do not engage with, which will increase cost, or it's going to invite out-of-state contractors into North Carolina. I think a much more effective way to do that would be simply to state the objective, let any business bid on the project, and those that are able to deliver it with the lowest cost, regardless of if they are union, organized, or not union jobs, that's how it should be delivered. So in some ways, let the district work it out, and then the best offering possible, that's where the dollars should go. So as a congressperson, obviously trying to secure sufficient appropriations, but then once those appropriations are secured, making sure that more dollars reach this district rather than the political wheels of Washington and the desires of the folks in power. So the next question pertains to workforce development, specifically as it relates to manufacturing, community colleges, and the like. and how I, as a congressman, can assist in not only the furtherance of those initiatives, but also, I would say, the overall economy of the district. And again, there's a very real struggle between the wheels of Washington, D.C., and the economy on the ground here in North Carolina and within the district. And first and foremost, we must protect the vibrancy of the economy, both in this district in North Carolina and in the country. And in my personal belief, and with history as the backdrop, a freer market enables a more robust economy. And cutting the unnecessary regulations that come from Washington and then at a state level come from Raleigh are imperative. There was a recent study that said on the low end, federal regulations can cost anywhere from $300 billion a year unnecessarily, and then on the high end, closer to $1 trillion a year unnecessarily. Getting rid of that red tape from Washington is something that I will work towards achieving as a congressperson. And then secondly, in terms of development of manufacturing jobs, in terms of furtherance of community colleges and partnerships in that regard, there is a tremendous model right here in Johnston County about workforce development with the pharmaceutical industry, with community colleges and high schools, where there are basically programs that secure jobs for high school graduates that go right into the community college development program. And once they finish, they are trained for specific tasks that they can immediately transfer over and fill spots in the pharmaceutical business right here in Johnston County. And again, that is a model that's worth replicating. And in some ways, getting the government out of the way, incentivizing it with creative tax policy, incentivizing businesses not only to stay in North Carolina, but in this district, but also incentivizing businesses to come here from overseas. We should have the most competitive and robust economy right here in the 13th district. And if that is able to be achieved, which I hope it will be, a lot of businesses will come here, enabling there to be ample opportunities for whether it's community colleges, four-year degrees, et cetera, to gain employment in a meaningful way right here. So the next question was essentially asking my opinion about regulatory burdens as it relates to small businesses and my opinion on the topic, and then how we could work as a member of Congress to restrain it when needed. And my personal opinion is that a vast majority of regulations that come out of Washington, D.C. are far too burdensome and unnecessary, especially as it relates to small businesses. Whether it's a community bank, whether it is a local infrastructure company, whether it's a grading company, and especially farmers. The tentacles of federal bureaucracy reach very, very pervasively into these businesses. And it not only affects the consumer in terms of it makes it more expensive for businesses to exist, which transfers to the consumer, but it also makes it harder for businesses to get started. It makes it harder for businesses to refine their product, and it makes it harder for businesses to maintain a competitive posture, because if they're having to spend a growing portion of their revenue, they're not servicing it on the customer, they're not competing with one another, and they're not able to better hone in on whatever service they're offering. You know, a great example is over the last 35 years, the number of community banks has drastically shrunk. I think by the tune of maybe 60+%, we've had a decrease in the local community banks. And the number one reason for that is the cost of doing business as it relates to federal oversight and federal, I would say, bureaucratic rulemaking. The cost of doing business, of complying with these regulations, it's punitive. And I believe that it's past time that we as a Congress, that we as a people, check the bureaucratic state. If there is a weight on farmers, on manufacturers, on infrastructure projects, on banks, whatever it may be, that are below a certain level of value, small businesses, it should be impermissible for regulations to be punitive to the point that they go out of business. So restraining the ability of rules to fly off the shelf, restraining the ability of bureaucrats to impose the effect of law without Congress approving those rules. We really need to get creative with the law to restrain the reach and to restrain the cost of these regulations. Access to healthcare is it's obviously imperative for each person in North Carolina and within the 13th district, and it's important for each person in the 13th district. And piggybacking off of the previous question, one of the reasons that we would be I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up is, again, the federal involvement in the business of healthcare, federal involvement in the idea of delivering service to individuals. Just like with community banks, we have seen a huge movement towards consolidation, towards larger hospital systems, consuming smaller practices and aggregating into one big body. And a more effective way to deliver healthcare to more people, I would submit, is having more practices, more small businesses, as it were, in these small communities. And one of the ways that we could do that is, I would submit, is making Medicaid reimbursement rates more competitive with private insurance. If individuals are able to service low-income families and communities and get more competitive reimbursement rates, I think that will enable them to stay in business longer. It will also incentivize, I would say, the higher quality of healthcare. A second thing is the law has gotten a little bit clumsy as it relates to healthcare, whether it's with the insurance premiums and the insurance markets, allowing insurance companies to access other states, other consumers, to have a more robust market. I think that's imperative. And then a very basic step that could be taken and that needs to be taken is more transparency as it relates to cost. If we increase cost, if we incentivize less consolidation, if we incentivize a more robust marketplace, I think more people will be served with higher quality medicine. So enabling a free market to take hold, getting rid of the bureaucratic clutter, incentivizing practices, not just to buy up one another, but to go back into these communities, whether they're rural, whether they're lower income, whether they're far removed from urban centers, et cetera. That's how we deliver healthcare to more people more effectively. And in closing, let me just say that it's my privilege to run for this office. I've never run for office before. And as a federal prosecutor, my background is predominantly in law enforcement. And from that perch, I was able to witness what I would submit as a very serious problem that is facing our country, insofar as it's the open border, open illegal immigration. And that, paired with $35 trillion in debt, is going to be our generation's primary hurdles in terms of we must fix those challenges. We must fix those problems if we're going to save our country. And the good news is, I think, while politically difficult, the solutions are pretty simple. We must control spending. We must rein in these trillions of dollars that are blown every year. And we must secure our border so that the immigration system works for this country rather than the other way around. And with your support, I hope that we can deliver on those two promises: cut spending, cut regulation, ensure that we have a free and robust economy that's within our means. And then secondly, securing the border and making the immigration system work for the country rather than the other way around. And we'll be on a bright path to a robust future. Thank you.